get started. What we're talking about in this chapter class, we're going to start with looking at place values. And look at this place value chart again. This place value chart shows the digits from the millions place all the way past the decimal point. And then it goes, what is this place? Tenths.
Hundreds.
Thousands.
10,000. These are the really small digits, aren't they? They're really small values. 10,000ths place. That's 1/10,000th of a dollar, for example. $1, the place where ones, this would be like $5. Okay? And then this refers to tenth of a dollar. So like 1 dime, 4 pennies, and then so on. This is the hundredths place, or the thousandths place, and then the 10,000ths place. Okay? Now, if we're going to round a number, let's say that you're asked to round this number to the nearest thousandth. What does that mean? That means to find the nearest thousandth, or to cut this number off at the thousandths place. Okay? So if we look at the number to the right of that, since it's a 7, we would round, that means the nearest thousandth is the, what? The next highest, right? 3 thousandths. So this, we would cut this off at 143 thousandths. 5, and so on, and so on, and so on. Right? All the rest of these would be left blank. Or if we were rounding this on the left side of the decimal point, they would become zeros. The zeros at the end of this, they just fill that place. They don't have a value, do they? So that's why we can just get rid of those zeros. All right? So, to review, when you're rounding, look at the place to the right. If it's 5 or more, you generally round that up. If it's 4 or less, you round it down, meaning that you would leave this number the same. Okay? Chase.
Why can't you just round the whole number?
You can round the whole number. What do you mean?
Well, like,
To just write the rest of the digits?
No, like, why don't you just round the whole entire number to 1,300,000?
Well, let's say that you were instructed to round this to the nearest thousandth.
Right?
If you're instructed to do that, the problem is round this to the nearest thousandth, or if you're asked to do that, then you have to look to the right of that place. And then decide, should I leave this number the same, or should I round it up to the next one? Okay? Look at this example in rounding. Again, rounding to the nearest thousandth, this number, 912 thousandths, is closer to 9,122 10,000ths. Isn't it? So, again, to read the number, you read all the digits, and then say the place of the last digit. This last digit is in the 10,000ths place. Right? You got that? Now, let's talk about estimating. There are 2 goals to estimation. You want to round the number so that you can do the math in your head, but yet get a close answer and an appropriate answer to what you're looking for. Okay? This is an example of that. If we had the problem 172 and 98 hundredths minus 128 and 301 thousandths, we could do 170 minus 130 in our head. Right? We don't need to round this all the way up to 200 and this down to 100 when we can get a closer answer by rounding it to a problem that we could do in our head. That's a closer number. Okay? Now, there's another method that the book wants you to know, and that's called clustering. Clustering means rounding all the numbers to the same number, and then multiplying by the number of numbers. Rounding all the numbers to the same number, and then multiplying by the number of numbers you have. Okay? Any questions on that method? There's another type of problem that you're going to be asked to figure out. And that is, let's erase some of this. What are the numbers between numbers? In other words, what number could come between 3.14 and 3.15? Are there numbers between 3.14 and 3.15? Yeah, in fact, there's an infinite number of numbers between those. The numbers just keep going on and on. They get smaller and smaller increments. More precise. But how do you find those? How do you find those numbers? Well, think of it this way. This is 3 1400ths, but it's also 3 140 thousandths. This is 3 1500ths, but we could also say this is 3 150 thousandths. Now, if we look between 140 and 150, what's directly between 140 and 150 thousandths? 145 thousandths, right. So write that in your notes. 3 145 thousandths is directly between 140 and 150. So to find numbers between the increments, we can add a 0 to make this a smaller place. Add a 0 to the end, and think of the numbers in terms of thousandths instead of hundredths. Okay? Now, let's go to your book and look at some examples of what you're going to do today. First section is just identifying the underlined place. So that's using the place value chart on that first page. Second is rounding to the underlined place, which is what we did in the first example. Section 3 is estimating. So that's using these two goals to guide us to get a good estimate. Okay? And then I want you to use clustering again. And clustering means rounding all the numbers to the same number and multiplying. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, that should cover lesson 3.1 for you.